Whether we like it or not, there will be times where patients or clients cancel in our business, and we need to be able to know exactly what to do, be efficient and effective in how we deal with the situation, and make every post a winner. And we're going to go through that right now because there's some simple tactics that many businesses miss that are crucial to minimize the hurt. So I think it's really important when we first chat about cancellations in health and medical businesses that we actually take heed of the fact that it is natural, it is going to happen, and regardless of whether we like it or not, we are absolutely kidding ourselves if we try and deny that it happens. There are some people in our industry that like to say, oh, we don't have any, we just look to, facilitate things so that everyone's a good fit, and we weed out those people that aren't a good fit and move them on. It's like, you know what? Bullshit. That's just an excuse. Every single time I hear that, I fathom the part that the business and the person who's saying that as a business owner is fundamentally not taking ownership and accountability for what has actually occurred in that situation. So let's just agree that right at this time, no matter how good you are and how much you think the sun shines out of your backside, is the fact that we all have cancellation. So what do we actually do with it, and what's the best way to deal with it? Well, first of all, there's a huge amount of people in all industries, and there's massive amounts of companies in all industries that still like to turn around and make comments like, well, it's in our policy to, sorry, that's some draconian type way of dealing with cancellations. And the fact of the matter is, people, it's giving them a really good opportunity to get negative, angry, frustrated, feel really underappreciated, and as a net result, it becomes a situation that can be really hard to deal with further and create even more difficulties for the business moving forward. So ultimately, when someone rings up, let's assume you're the receptionist and you take the phone call for someone to cancel right now. One of the first things that we need to take heed of and understand, and if you want to test this out for yourself, feel free to go and listen to your own receptionist in your own business. Do this. What we find all the time, words are exceptionally important in this situation. And what we do find is that receptionists love to turn around and hear that Mr. Jones has just rung up and said, look, I need to cancel my appointment. And the first words that comes out of their mind is, that's okay. And then they continue on. Well, sorry, but it's not okay, right? It's not okay because you're not following the plan. You're not accountable. There's obviously emotional responses to God knows what going on that we need to know about. It's potentially stuffed up our diary, messed us around, made changes to cancellation lists and all this type of stuff. Like, it's not okay to do that. We might understand, we might respect it. They might have a sick child in hospital, so we don't have to go hard on it. But the fact is, we shouldn't be emphasizing and reinforcing negative behavior that's detrimental to our team and business moving forward. So we've got to stop that whole, that's okay. We tend to get it a lot, and I might be being a bit stereotypical, but we'll have maybe a young female who doesn't want to be confrontational and so feels the need to turn around and go, oh, that's okay. Is there anything we can help with? Or someone will ring up and say, oh, I need to cancel because I'm not feeling well. And they go, that's okay. And again, it's not okay, essentially. So we need to start thinking about our language first and foremost. There's several main parts of how we show our clients how to do this, and we've got an actual 9-box little model that we utilize. It's super powerful. It's called the Cancellation Eliminator. We actually get people to stick that onto their laminator, stick it next to their telephone at the reception desk, and it means that we're going to able to take control of that conversation very, very quickly, which is super important. But it always makes sure that we're not actually reinforcing negative behavior. Now, I know there's an I before E except after C rule for everything. And I know that they might be on death's door with this and that and blah, blah, blah. But that's like the 1 in 100 case, right? So let's just understand that, yep, something like that might have happened, and it might be something really bad and someone's on death's door and all that. I get that. I truly do. But what we need to do is we need to actually make sure we put a system in place for the normal. And the normal that always occurs right now is not that someone's on death's door. They're ringing up because there's some type of emotional response that's been triggered, or some type of hot button of theirs that's been triggered that they don't like, or they've had a negative experience. Something emotionally has driven them to pick up the phone and to cancel. And this becomes a great opportunity for you and the team to actually know what it is and to make some improvements to them and for all of your other clients and patients at the time and forthcoming in the future as well. So let's just park it right now that there might be some really bad, there's been a plane crash and they've got to go and rush and identify their husband's body, right? Like something like that is really extreme. It does happen every now and again, but let's be completely honest, 99% of the time it's not, because someone in their immediate family died in a plane crash moments ago. So let's just take ownership and understand that this is a great opportunity for us to be able to get forward, get on the front foot, make it better for them, make it better for all of us, and for everything that we're doing with the business coming forward from there. Secondly, we need to make sure that once we then move forward from that, we need to take control of the conversation. And that can be done in multiple ways, but it's super important that you train your team and you empower anyone answering the phone, like your reception or admin team, so they're very well aware of how to do this. Take control of that conversation, because the last thing anyone wants is to be in a situation where they just don't feel like they've got much control over where they're going. And your reception admin team need to be in control, because you need to fundamentally find several parts out of why, so you can improve on so many reasons, but you also want to be able to continue them on their journey. And when I talk about their journey, I'm talking about the pathway that they mapped out with their practitioner at their last consult. The journey might be a certain amount of sessions over the next few weeks to get from where they are now to the end point, their finish line. That understanding that they had with their therapist, that this is what they really ultimately want. This is the map of how it looks like, what's going to happen, what I'm going to do, what you're going to do, actions, responsibilities, etc. Now, that's a totally different podcast about how to actually put that pathway in place, which is really simple, but everyone should have a plan. They should have like a treatment plan, a patient pipeline to know exactly what's going and moving forward. And this is where you need to be able to reference and move back to that exact identification, because we need to be able to make sure that the person understands that, that taking today off, canceling, not being there, etc., is not actually part of the plan that we want them to complete, that's in their best interest. Now, this isn't a form of manipulation or emotional blackmail or any of that type of bullshit that, the odd person might be thinking right now. This is actually the fact that they emotionally have invested into this process, have agreed to this. They know what they want. They've told their therapist this is what is the most important thing to them. This is the emotional hook that we've been working with. Here's their start line. Here's the finish line. The treatment plan's in place. They've agreed to it. And now, for whatever reason, they're now wanting to step away from that. And most of the time, it's from some type of bullshit reason, or it's from the fact that the practitioner didn't put the right treatment plan and mapping in place, and the context of importance to that patient wasn't actually in place. So if they modify the plan of exactly when sessions are going to happen just a slight bit, that it's not a big deal to them. So this is a great opportunity to be able to turn around and make comments and train your team into phrases such as, thanks for Mr. Jones for letting us know. It's really unfortunate that you won't be able to stick to the treatment plan that you've actually got with Jason. And I know Jason will wanting to make sure that you actually stick to the pipeline and pathway that you've actually mapped out. And so that's very easy. I mean, that was a bit of a long-winded version of it right there, but ultimately what we're trying to do is just nice and simply take control of the conversation and make sure they get reference to the fact that they've agreed to a pathway in place that's in their best interests of what they've agreed to that they want. And so then we want to be able to go forward and not just go to a situation of, hey, we want to rebook you. But we want to actually be able to make sure, again, we reinforce the importance of sticking to that pathway. And one of the an example of one of the phrases that I think works really well, and this is all to do with like sales training that I've learned with Ari Galper globally over the years, is something along the lines of, can you let me know the reason for canceling so that I can let Jason know? Because I don't want to be the person who's let you down as to the reason why you're unable to follow through with your treatment plan. It's pretty good, right? It literally puts it back onto them to reference the fact that they've agreed to this treatment plan or this pathway, and that you as the receptionist or admin don't want to be the one responsible for not being able to get their desires fulfilled, get their finish line completed, get to the point of getting what they wanted as an outcome, finished, completed, and moving forward with life. And so it really does put it back onto them nicely. And again, this isn't manipulation. This is purely and simply about making sure they are able to take ownership and accountability for their actions. And this will drive more accountability, more responsibility, and a decrease in cancellations. From there, we're able to then obviously go forward and start some of the wording that we put in place to give them an A and B, not a yes or no. We've got to make sure that we're not giving them 30,000 different options to rebook or leaving them in a situation to do the rebooking. But I might do that in another podcast so that this doesn't extend too long. The main part, the understanding, is that we've got to make sure that we're not reinforcing negative behavior. We've got to make sure that we keep them on track with their treatment process and their pathway. We want to make them accountable for what they're doing. We want to be able to script this out so that the actual reception or admin team or the person answering the phone is empowered to know what to do, why, and when. We want to. It shows a gel that you're aware of what the therapist has done with them in those previous consults. It shows a better understanding of what's happening and the pathway moving forward. And it means that it's all about them and progressing things for the right reasons, not just, oh, would you like to rebook? Or, yes, that's okay, and we'll reinforce your negative behavior, and then we're going to also just rebook you, and then potentially create a scenario where you start to just cancel, rebook, and change things around way too often and become what we then start to talk about a D-class client. We don't want that. We shouldn't need that. We shouldn't have to deal with that, but I see it all the time in the industry. And these little tips I've just given you right now are some of the best ways to take control, increase the ownership and accountability for the client, to make sure that we can go and get the right pathway in place with the right outcomes, have people turning up, less cancellations, better patient outcomes, and as a net result, it's a win-win for everyone involved. I'll talk to you again very soon. Hey guys, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Profitable Practice Podcast. I would love nothing more than for you to be able to leave a review. I get so much joy out of listening and reading the amazing things that you guys say about this. So please subscribe to our channel, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Let's get some more fantastic information out there so all of us can grow the industry together. Cheers for now.